solidarity through rights, integrity, knowledge, and empowerment. This is the S.T.R.I.K.E podcast with your host, Vinny Blasio. Each episode, Vinny takes you inside the world of New York State corrections, focusing on both corrections officer and law enforcement issues. And now your host, Vinny Blasio.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is Vinny Blasio, and I'm the host of the S.T.R.I.K.E podcast. So we'll get right into it. Today's podcast is going to be about the petition about that we're sending to Governor Kathy Hochul about the conditions in DOC. So I would hope that everyone would send that petition out and that we have a good headway. I know that as of right now, there's over 720 signatures that are on it in just less than 24 hours. So I hope that the momentum on that continues a little bit. So first, we want to read a letter from one of the messages that I've received. We've been reading a letter for every podcast, so we'll start again with that. So we did a podcast a little sooner than we have lately, only because of the petition that started, and I'll read that after I read the letter. So growing up, all I wanted in life was to be a police officer. I spent many long years chasing that dream, from local agencies to city and county. At 34 years of age, being married with children, holding random jobs that I wasn't proud of, I finally got my chance. I was offered a job with the city police department. On that very same day, I was also offered a job with DOCS. My best friend growing up worked for DOCS. He bragged about the same pay, the same time off, the vacation time, the pension, the benefits, and on and on. He was never working, at least not more than 2 days a week. I was smitten with that prospect of being able to have so much free time. My family had struggled through so much just to stay afloat, so I chose DOCS. My first 15 years of my career were just as he described, and I was proud to be a prison guard. I did my job with my head held high. Then things started to change. The climate and public perception towards law enforcement changed. Suddenly, we were made an enemy. Street cops were hated, and the prison guards were too. We were never accepted as law enforcement, but we wore the same uniforms. We were all made out to be abusive hate mongers, that we were just wannabe cops. The media attacked us, music artists attacked us, our families of our keeps attacked us. We were portrayed as overpaid babysitters who beat convicts for kicks, oppressors. Our own state government turned their backs on us and took away the tools we had to make our jobs safer and to hold our keeps accountable. Now our keeps are physically attacking us. There is no accountability for what's going on in our prisons right now. We're told it's our own fault and that the laws and policies put in place will make it better for us. We need to justify every single thing we do, and we do. Our government thinks that prisoners who get more will behave better. Did everyone forget that they got there because they don't care about following laws, rules, or regulations? Prison is supposed to be a punishment for not being law-abiding citizens. You're not supposed to want to be in jail. Our government is making a Cushing rite of passage instead of a means of correction. Those that make the rules do so from a nice office, reading reports and speculating what will get them higher up the poll and garner some votes. Working Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, with weekends and holidays off. They are completely oblivious to what is going on and how to make it better for everyone, including the inmates. Oops, I meant incarcerated individuals. Even that term is ridiculous, but we keep pushing on. Together, just a frontline staff, hoping that things will go back to just being a job and the days of going to work for just 8 hours and returning to our families unharmed. We never know how many hours we have to work. We never know if we can go to that birthday party, wedding, graduation, or other event that everyone else who didn't take this job can go to. It sucks. It's destroying who we are and who we care about. No one wants this job anymore. It's no longer a job. It's become a burden. So many of us have invested our lives into it that we just can't walk away as the light is visible at the end of the tunnel. But we fear we won't get there. I have just over 4 years left. I go to work expecting to work a 16-hour shift and am grateful when I come home just after 8 hours. My family has adjusted to me not being there. They hate it too. Daddy comes home just to sleep. My neighbor has taken to mowing my lawn for me because I don't have time. and can't guarantee a sunny day when my regular day off does finally come. We can't even plan a doctor's appointment around time off anymore, so we fill out paperwork just to get 4 hours out of that place, and heaven forbid if you forget to bring it, because a doctor's note isn't even enough anymore. Our families and friends have moved on from inviting us to things anymore because we gotta work. I miss my wife. I miss my kids. Hell, I miss my damn dog, who only sees me when I'm sleeping. I am still proud to be a prison guard. It has provided me and my family with wonderful things. But how old will I be when I get to enjoy them? How will I be physically? How will I be mentally? And will my family be waiting? Or will they have moved on too? Anonymous. Now, is that not a touching letter and describes the situation that's going on today? How does your heart not get ripped apart just reading that, let alone living that every day? And then you have the audacity of the things that go on to make it worse when you have managers telling people that go work at McDonald's if you don't like it here. Well, I guess what? Many have. So that brings us to the point which I wanted to do the podcast today. That letter really touched me. Probably got a little emotional reading that. But the petition, and I'll read that in its entirety. It's called Subject Urgent Petition for Relief and Changes in the New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. Dear Governor Hochul, we are reaching out to you with a petition in the hopes that you can provide much needed relief and implement necessary changes within the New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. The current correction officer staff have been pushed to their breaking point. These dedicated individuals are the backbone of the agency and have recently endured horrendous working conditions. Employees are being forced to work mandated overtime, often working 24 hours straight. This poses a significant safety risk for the employees, incarcerated individuals, facility, agency, and the public. Such conditions are simply unsustainable at any level. Governor, it is known that you value the importance of family. However, the working conditions currently in place go against your goals by tearing families apart and causing undue stress in the workplace and at home. Mandated overtime policies have been implemented that take away employees' regular day off, and they are often forced to work additional shifts on these same days off. This is an unacceptable situation. In most cases, it has created extreme hardships for families, leaving them with nobody to get their children to and from school. In some instances, employees were forced to relinquish custody of their children to ensure someone could fulfill the responsibility while they are forced to be at work. The employees should not be held accountable for the agency's recruitment and retention policies if they have no control over hiring decisions. If changes are not made to improve retention, experienced staff will undoubtedly seek employment outside of docks. Additionally, the recent announcement of facility closures has further destabilized the work environment. Threatening employees with potential relocation to another facility, which may also face closure, only compounds the stress and upheaval experienced by these employees and their family. Another major concern is the implement of HALT, the human alternative to long-term confinement. Contrary to its name, this policy has proven to be anything but humane. Both incarcerated individuals and employees have suffered injuries as a result. The statistics speak for themselves, with 1,668 incarcerated individuals having been assaulted by their fellow inmates and 1,280 assaults committed by incarcerated individuals against staff as of August 1st, 2024. Such alarming numbers demand immediate action. Moreover, the policy has made incarcerated individuals feel less safe, as those who abide by the rules are threatened by those who do not. For example, gangs pose a constant threat, like charging for basic needs, activities, and participating in just daily routines. Non-compliance often leads to violence. This puts both incarcerated individuals and responding officers at risk. In summary, Governor Hochul, we implore you to hear our pleas and to take action. The issues highlighted here are just a fraction of the daily challenges faced within the New York State Department of Corrections and Community Services Supervision. Only you have the power to bring about the necessary changes. The time is of the essence before lives are lost. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So that is the petition. I'm going to put up a banner, and hopefully everyone can see the banner and go to the change.org and sign, have family members sign, have every member of your family sign, have your friends and neighbors sign. And that website is www.change.org/change_DOCCS. Again, www.change.org/change_DOCCS. And that petition I created just less than 24 hours ago, and it's already gathered, like I said, over 720 something signatures. So we're hoping to get as many signatures. So if you would be so kind to give that petition a look at, and then sign your name, and then we'll send that on and share that. Share that with everyone you know, all social media platforms, and we can try to make some effectuated change. And someone asked the other day, does the governor even see this? Well, it's been tagged to her, so obviously she sees it with the change.org platform, but she also sees it because I've been tagging her on her many social media posts. So she definitely has seen it. Whether she listens or does anything with it, that's a different story, but I am hope that she'll view that and at least consider to have a conversation with those entities that need to make the change, and sit down with her to try to effectuate change. And that brings me on to the next portion of it, is that the campaigns that people are doing, and there's many of them that are out there that have been trying to effectuate change, letter writing campaigns to the governor, to the assemblymen, to the senators, and so on. And that is a great strategy, and they should continue. No one campaign should take the place of another. Everyone should couple on to the next, and it should be in addition to, not in lieu of, if that makes sense to you. So it doesn't matter who started it. I'm getting nothing out of this. This takes time, energy. It's cost me over $3,000 of my personal money to start all these things that we've accomplished in the last 3 weeks. So, and I'm gladly doing it. It's not for self-promotion. I don't get anything out of this. I don't get a salary. I don't get any funds. We're in the middle of starting the GoFundMe, which is separate from the petition. So just touch on that for a minute. The money that Petition through change.org asked for has nothing to do with me. That does not go to the GoFundMe fund. That doesn't go to the S.T.R.I.K.E podcast or to the fund. That only goes to help promote that petition through change.org. So those donations are separate, and the donations that are into the fund itself, those are still there. Zero money has been spent out of that fund so far, because I've been using personal money. We are in the process of getting that fund incorporated. And as soon as I get that back from my accountant and attorney this week, hopefully we'll have a set of bylaws, a set of directors, and we'll move forward with that, incorporating the S.T.R.I.K.E podcast and incorporating the S.T.R.I.K.E fund and the like. So that is something different. And if anybody wants to, we'll go to the banner for the GoFundMe page. That is separate. That is the fund that's also on the Facebook group for the New York State Correction Officers Solidarity Fund. So the S.T.R.I.K.E fund is called, and that's S.T.R.I.K.E as an acronym, not in the word meaning strike. So that's GoFundMe, and that is www.gofundme/39225F8A. So that again, that's GoFundMe, gofund.me/39225. F is in Frank, 8A is in Alpha. So that fund hopefully will again pick up steam, and we can use that for those that are in dire need of help. So we have the two letters, and they both touch on a lot of the same principles, the mandates, the family, and how bad the families really have it. And who asked, the families didn't sign up for the job. Sometimes we do have husband, wife, or what have you, both family members are working for docs. But on the most part, the families are paying the price for a career path that one of the individuals chose. So it certainly isn't fair to them. And it certainly isn't fair that story, it just rips my heart out. And I thought it was just one story. But then after talking to people last week, I found out that more people had to, especially in single parent households, had to basically change this school districts or make the child custody somewhere else because they couldn't be home to provide daycare for the child before or after school. They couldn't be there because they didn't know if they were going to be working, couldn't have a child come home off the school bus and nobody be there for them. And not knowing, because you don't never know when you're going to get mandated on the most part. And then sometimes when you do get mandated, you think you're going to be home in 8 hours, and sometimes it's 16 and 24. And, the people are misreading some of the things with that 24-hour and the double time and the contract. And I know some facilities are not paying people for it. And I don't believe that was the spirit. But as I know, there are superintendents out there that are basically saying, oh, yeah, you have that in your contract. You have double time now. So we're just going to mandate you to that. And that doesn't do anyone any good. And that certainly, at least to my knowledge, was not the intention of that. But I was not part of that negotiations. I just cannot believe that people have that type of mindset and not care about families first. I mean, we always were a correction family, and it was always the type that, I could pick on Johnny, but if anybody else picked on Johnny from outside, they were ours. That was our brother. That was our sister. And we didn't let anything happen to them. Family first. And that concept is kind of devolved in corrections. And it's sad to see some of the things that we're witnessing with the home life and the stress that it's put on. And, now we see the closures, and then you have, let's talk about that for a minute. We have 2 closures that are out there, and, they're under stress and have to uproot their children. School's going to be starting, we're a week away from school starting, and they're worried about uprooting their family. And then you have the commissioner basically giving a threat saying that we touched on last podcast, well, if recruitment doesn't improve, nobody's in charge of recruitment but you. And if you don't, we're going to close up to 3 more facilities. So I'm leaving Great Meadow as an example, and then I go to facility B, and I may be there and have to uproot my family again because that jail closes. That's not a stressor. That doesn't have an effect on anybody. That helps your recruitment. And that's not to say anything about the retention. Everybody's focused on the recruitment aspect, and they should be. But nobody's really focused on the retention. There's people out there that would still be working today had DOCS not become such a horrible agency to work for. And, besides the mandates itself, just with the implementation of HALT and the assaults that we see skyrocketing, it's in the petition. Those numbers are DOCS numbers. They're not mine. But we see that retention, when you have an unbalanced staff, meaning that you have inexperienced staff of 5 years or less, and that's being and no offense to new jacks, but new officers. But when you don't have the experienced officers at the top sticking around, you have inexperienced staff that don't know how to quell a situation. And that bad day is going to come sooner than later. And when you make the department heavy at the bottom and not at the top of experienced staff, that's an issue. And if you look at any serious incidents that have happened around the country and you look at what has happened in the years of experience, it usually correlates to inexperienced staff, and nobody's paying attention to that. We're not keeping people when we should. We're not having any retention. I would still be working today if the department didn't go to hell. I mean, the department doesn't want me there, but that's a different story. But I would still be working today had the conditions not deteriorated so much. And even the tier hearings as part of the original disciplinary resettlement, when we got into the NICLU settlement that took away disciplinary action. And I spoke on that before as a disciplinary lieutenant, that was part of my job. And when there is no deterrent, there is no justice. And then we see that, in that petition, I touched on it, and we went into the quick things about the inmates themselves not feeling good because they themselves have issues, because we all know that the gangs are now running. They're charging inmates, for simple tasks and simple things, just as a shower. So, the HALT thinks that it's doing these justices for the inmates and incarcerated individuals when they're really having the opposite effect. So lastly, like I said, we want to do a call to action. as we saw with the closures, Great Meadow has been brought out so many positive things. Some I can't touch on, but they've dug deep and they found out certain things that's going on. And I can't believe that you're closing these maxes that have specialized programs that fit the needs of the HALT program, and then you turn around and try to find a place somewhere else that you have to start from scratch. Doesn't make sense. This whole thing smells, and I can't wrap my head around it. And then you look at the number of resignations, from counselors to officers at Great Meadow, and it's high. I'm not going to go through the list. But if you look at the recent resignations that have happened there and you realize, wow, what's going on? Because the jail is closing. And then, as I touched last podcast, you have the other agencies that are poaching the employees. Well, you can stay right here. You can stay right here in town, and I'll hire you for county corrections, county sheriffs, and what have you, and other law enforcement agencies. So, of course, that's going to happen. So to think that this is going to wave a magic wand and all of a sudden these employees are going to go elsewhere, that's an illusion. Not to say, again, hitting on the retention part of it, that the people are going to stick around. If I know that I have to travel any length of time when my time is 25-year mark, I'm going to retire. I'm not going to put up with that. But, and it's not just security, because as we know in some of the other unions have reached out to me, civilian unions, not security, that, they're having the same issue as far as employees too. They can't staff the powerhouse. They have to get shared employees because they're also having a staffing problem. So with that, I just wanted to touch on those things. Again, the outpour of messages has been tremendous. Keep sending those letters to me. Keep giving those messages. If I don't get back, send me another one, because I may have missed it. There's been, like I said, over 2,280, I think it was the other day, that I had to get back to. And these letters I like reading because it tells a story. It paints a picture. It's something that I never thought of. If you were going to tell me that, families would have to share custody or change custody of a child because mom or dad gets stuck at work all the time, I never thought of that. So it's really, really, and there's more stories than that through the messages that I got in. So keep them coming. I'll keep you anonymous and read your stories on the podcast. So we're going to have some good things coming. As I promised last time, we got some things changing for the S.T.R.I.K.E podcast, both audio and video. So we're going to be going to some different platforms and spreading the word and messages. We did some paid advertisements so far that came out of my personal funds that we are trying to advertise the awareness campaign. We're trying to do the fund. We're trying to get that out there. And then obviously trying to promote the podcast as well. So everyone, be safe. I know that these are bad conditions that you're working under. And if there's anything that we can do to help make that more pleasant day, let us know. Be safe, watch each other's backs, and remember, be kind. You do not know what the other person that's sitting next to you is going through. Take care, everyone. We'll talk again soon.